Welcome to geothoughts.eu. In this video, we will cover the geopolitical developments between November 28 and December 11 due to the fact that we could not publish last week's highlights. The Chinese government decided to lift all COVID-19 restrictions in place following public and economic pressure. The zero-COVID policy that Beijing had been implementing since the beginning of the pandemic led to economic stagnation and public unrest. The policy included mandatory quarantine of big cities and test requirements for social activities depending on the number of cases. An apartment fire in Urumqi last month turned into public unrest all over the country, since people could not escape from the fire due to COVID restrictions. However, officials are concerned due to the increasing number of cases in large cities such as Beijing and Shanghai, as people are either sick or afraid to go out, which would further worsen the economic activity. Economists project that the Chinese economy may grow 1.6% in the first quarter of 2023, while the growth is expected to be 3.9% in the last quarter of 2022. A critical decision to curb Russian war efforts by the EU and G7 was agreed on December 5. Members of both organizations agreed to put a cap on Russian seaborne oil exports at $60 per barrel. The EU Commission declared that the cap will help reduce Russian oil revenues from exports, stabilize the oil market, and reduce the oil supply problems to third countries. Currently, Russia produces 10% of global oil supplies. Furthermore, the decision will allow third countries to import Russian crude oil by using Western insurance and ships as long as they do not pay more than the agreed price. As a response, the Kremlin stated that they will not accept this move and will not supply oil to the countries which implement the cap. It is expected that Russia will implement a countermeasure before the New Year's. Russian President Putin said that Russia would likely have to reach agreements regarding Ukraine in the future, but felt betrayed by the breakdown of the Minsk agreements, which were brokered by France and Germany. He added that now, both countries are supplying weapons to Ukraine. Putin's statements can be related to recent Russian withdrawals in Ukraine and a possible inquiry to look for diplomatic solution with the West. Yet, at the same time, it demonstrates the Kremlin's fury towards the West due to its support for Ukraine. Chinese President Xi visited Saudi Arabia this week, which brought about several new agreements in security and trade, bringing the two countries closer amid souring ties between Riyadh and Washington, the looming oil crisis, and the Russo-Ukrainian war. In a joint declaration after the summit, both sides said they will align policies including energy and security and will support each other's core interests while refraining from meddling with internal affairs. According to Saudi media, agreements worth $29.3 billion were signed during the summit, while she asked for payments in the national currency yuan for oil trade with Saudi Arabia. Yet, it is not clear whether this will take place. In October 2022, the relations between Washington and Riyadh had soured over the OPEC Plus decision to cut down the global oil supply with the leadership of Saudi Arabia, which affected Western plans to cut down Russian oil revenues. Croatia is set to join the EU's Schengen Area in January after member states approved Zagreb's application but rejected Romania and Bulgaria's. Despite the EU Commission's reports indicating that both countries are ready to join the Schengen Area after fulfilling all the requirements, Austria blocked both Romania and Bulgaria's applications, while the Netherlands refused just Bulgaria's due to the immigration policies and border security issues. Introduced in 1995, the Schengen Area allows the world's largest free travel area between 23 members of the European Union plus Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, and Switzerland. U.S. Secretary of State Blinken said that he is convinced the United States will be able to call Sweden and Finland NATO allies soon and that the Turkish concerns for both countries' accession are being addressed. NATO takes decisions unanimously, which means that Swedish and Finnish NATO membership requires the approval of every member of the alliance. Ankara laid down several conditions for Swedish and Finnish entrance, such as the extradition of Kurdish activists affiliated with the PKK, which Turkey considers a national security threat, and the lifting of the arms embargo against Turkey. That was all for last week's top geopolitical developments from across the world. Thank you for watching. See you next week.